47.
All right, everybody ready?
Yep.
Welcome, everybody. Call this meeting of the Shoreham Town Council to order. Today is Wednesday, October 16th. It is 7 p.m. on the dot. Item number one is to act to authorize the appointment of Laurel Payne as Deputy Town Clerk.
And I'll be removing myself from this.
I think everybody knows. I know. It feels weird. Well, Laurel, at least it'll be unanimous. And I have a motion to authorize the appointment of Laurel Payne as Deputy Town Clerk, please. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. I have to say, this is really thrilling and wonderful. I'm so glad you agreed to do this. And I think one of the things I always remark about when I'm leaving here is what a great team you have there. It is really, really impressive. Things get done with a smile most of the time, except, and I just want to say thank you. All right, who's administering the oath of office? Ooh. Wait. Tristan. Yeah. Almost needed your vote.
I'll second everything.
I will solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office. That I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of Department Deputy Town Clerk. According to the best of my abilities. And that I will support the charter. Granted to New Shoreham in 1672. The Home Rule Charter of the town. The Constitution. And the laws of the state. And the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations.
Do we have any public comment this evening? No. The consent agenda. Amy informed me before the meeting that item little c, the amended lease agreement, is not ready for action.
That's correct.
Okay. So it would just be items A and B. Can I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Can I have a motion to open a public hearing to discuss the latest round of zoning ordinances, please? Is there a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Public hearing is now open. Karen,
Good evening, everybody.
like how I do that?
Yeah, that's great. Good segue.
We can't hear
Um,
you yet.
Can you hear me?
Just bear with us, Karen.
Sure.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Hi. Can
Thank
you hear
you.
me?
Yes, we can.
Great. So yes, this is another effort to amend your zoning ordinance to come into compliance with the state law changes. These particular amendments are intended to address a couple of things that came up as you amended your ordinance previously. All of these are intended to conform with state law. Mostly the changes are
Hey, Ka-
intended to mostly the changes are intended to keep special use permits with
Hey,
your zoning
Karen, you
board.
need to
Hey,
stop. there.
Karen.
We're getting
Yeah,
playback.
we're getting feedback. Karen? Karen?
I'm here.
Karen?
Hi.
We're getting feedback, so you're gonna have to rewind yourself
Okay.
a couple minutes. Actually, we'll just do it from the top.
The real reason why I was here.
Yes, good thing we made that appointment. Karen, can you hear us now? Sorry,
I can. Tell me when you're ready for me.
We are ready.
Okay. So this is another round of zoning ordinance changes in an effort to come into compliance with the state law changes of a couple years ago. These particular amendments are intended to address a couple of things that came up as you made other bigger amendments. All of these changes are intended to conform with state law. Most of the changes are intended to keep special use permits with the zoning board and not be transferred over to Unified Development Review in the event that DPR would also be required. It also is some cleanup to change planning board or zoning board to just straight permitting authority. So just a language change there. Some language is also being moved to your subdivision regs. So it's being removed here. And that is probably a good overview, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I found that I didn't have many, which was cause for concern for me, but this one, I think, in the range of them, seems like mostly genuine conformity type changes. Not incredibly substantive, is that right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
They are
okay.
not intended to be overly substantive. It's really some of the fallout from making changes to other sections and trying to make sure that once we're all done, you have a zoning ordinance that is consistent throughout and reads consistently.
Any questions from the council about this? No? Can I have a motion to approve this proposed amendments to the New Shoreham zoning ordinance? Is there a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Item 6, act to approve Rhode Island Historic Preservation and Heritage Commission grant award. Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, wait, is it okay that we voted during the public hearing? Would you like me to repeat that, Keisha? Sure. Yeah.
Make a
Uh,
motion to close the public hearing.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And then can we just repeat that? Can I have a motion to approve these proposed amendments to the New Shoreham zoning ordinance?
So,
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you for catching that, Keisha. I have a bad habit of doing that. Item 6, act to approve the Rhode Island Historical Preservation and Heritage Commission grant award.
And so the
Amy?
council had authorized the submittal of this grant back in March of this year. The actual award is a little bit smaller than we initially applied for, $14,000, but it comes with no match. So that is a little bit of good news. And this is primarily for using ground penetrating radar to investigate Black and Indigenous grave sites at the Island Cemetery and around the island.
Great. Three people, Mike Shea, Marianne Goburn, and Marianne Crawford really worked a lot on this. And I know it is not as easy as some would like to accomplish this, nor is it as timely as some would like. But literally at every step of the way, my observation is that you guys have worked hard and in good faith on this, and I think it's important. It's important work, so thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the acceptance of this grant award? Is that how it should go? Seriously, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Discuss an act to approve a resolution establishing a safety committee regarding vehicles, mopeds, low-speed vehicles, bikes, scooters, etc. All right, so I finally wrote this, but didn't send it, so it's not a vote tonight. But will you hand one down to Amy? Because I just wasn't happy with it. You know, sometimes when you're writing stuff, you just sort of feel like you know this better than I.
Yeah.
For the this was just for quick historic background. We received a letter from Elizabeth Noonan, counsel to I believe all of the moped licensees, asking us to form a new moped safety committee. A couple of members of the council said, you know, what about bikes, scooters, you know, the range of vehicles that we have here on the island now. It isn't solely mopeds that are posing a challenge. Certainly people complain about those more in my experience, but you know, Martha, as you used to point out when you were working on the corner every day, some of the scooters are scarier. So anyway, I offered to draft a resolution. This is my stab at a draft. It attempts to encompass all of these wheeled vehicles and the need to have the police chief, the fire and rescue, medical center, as well as the licensees, because at least for me, this is fundamentally a public safety issue. It's not about, you know, we hate mopeds or we don't think there should be mopeds or anything like that. I think the law and statutes are very clear on that. But the idea of convening a group, seeing how things could work better, what things companies who rent bicycles could do better, companies that rent mopeds could do better. You know, what, most importantly, kind of what input does the police department have on how we could make things work better, et cetera. So again, this is because it hasn't been posted. It's not for action tonight, but please take a look at it. We'll agenda it on one of our future meetings and see where people come down on it.
Right. So we did talk about not sort of mimicking the previous,
Right.
so I was gonna ask if we had a copy of sort of the enabling for that, but we don't really need that if we don't want to mimic that, right? So,
I think it's Certainly, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask the clerk's office to find the original moped safety committee, whether it was done by resolution. I don't think it was done by ordinance. I think do you
That was a
remember,
while
Bill?
ago, right? I think that was when,
So long ago.
Tori was on
Yeah.
town
No.
council.
Yeah.
Well, I think if nothing, if we know nothing else, it's, as Keith said, it's not, oh, sorry. If we've learned nothing else, and I certainly hope everybody has finally come to acknowledge it, as Keith said, it's basically everything out there on the road, that it can be a problem. I said for years, if the mopeds disappeared tomorrow, it would be 5 days before anybody realized it because they'd be picking up all the bicycles that they hadn't been noticing. And it'd be the same way with the bicycle. I mean, I count them coming out of the neck every day
Mhm.
between Mansion and I give up at Scotch. And my only concern was, my only concern is that this be broad enough that there not be some other
Yeah.
insidious thing zooming in on its battery powered half a wheel or something. I don't think there's any reason to go back to.
I was out walking the dog on a trail this summer. And a guy comes flying around a corner on one of the trails on one of those one-wheel things. And he had all the motocross stuff on. It looked like fun, but
So the document, it was just a motion by the council.
great. Okay. So it was just to create it. There was no, okay. And again, I mean, as Martha just said, and I said, I think it was actually Molly who raised this first, that, it should cast a wide net. It should be, I tried to capture all of the things, but if I didn't,
I was surprised you got them all on one page. Good job.
yeah, especially for me, Jesus Christ. So anyway, you guys take a look at that and mark it up and red pen it. Or decide we don't want to do it. Amy, item 8, financial reports.
So I'm gonna do these for,
Or is it Mona?
if I'm gonna do
I'm
them for
sorry.
September and then
Jesus, what am I doing?
next month.
Mona, did you see the look she gave me?
But in general, both revenues and expenses are tracking both with prior year and against the budget. At a high level, I'd start with tax collections, which are very strong. We're at 47% of budgeted tax revenue for the year. We always have a really strong first quarter payment program, but that's actually even a little bit higher than we've seen in the past. The other thing I would note on taxes is that we did receive reimbursement from the state of $14,000 for the tangible exemption. So that represents 100% of our lost revenue as a result of that
Gotcha.
exemption program. It's not clear how long and at what level they'll maintain the reimbursement, but at least for year one, we were made whole, which is great.
Yeah.
On the expenditure side, two things I would point out. One is the insurance line, which is under administration. That's our property liability and workers' comp policies.
Yes.
We are already over budget,
Wow.
even though we significantly increased the budget line. So those numbers just continue to go up. There's really not a lot of influence that we have over those rates, but it is a challenge from a budget perspective.
And presumably, given that it's the trust and a mutual, it's not like shopping is going to do anything for that.
Exactly. There's not a lot of upside from the shopping.
Right.
So
Amy, I can tell you that the Harbor Church did a lot of shopping.
Mm-hmm.
No, didn't get anywhere.
Yeah. This is,
Oh, by the way, roll call dinner is next Tuesday.
kind of pie making.
And anybody who wants to make a pie, speak to Judy Mitchell, or just bring a pie. You want to be sure you get some.
In the other direction, the other sort of anomaly over last year is police overtime, which is actually down materially. You can somewhat argue that that's a bad thing in that they don't necessarily have all the bodies that they need and want to fulfill the staffing. But from a budget perspective, that leaves us a little bit of room.
Right.
And then finally, in early September, we did issue a series of bonds, a $4 million ban, which was for school construction, and then $1 million taxable for the balance of the Thomas property, and then $1 million tax exempt for roads. So we did a $6 million issuance in aggregate with rates ranging between 3.95 and 5.09, depending on which one you're looking at.
Great.
And the two long terms.
That's better than I expected.
Yeah, it's a tough environment. The
Yeah.
fact that we were able to get that done is really good news. We had a lot of bidders. In the same period, same couple weeks, there were communities who did not have any bidders.
Oh, really?
So again, the fact that we were able to get that done at reasonable rates felt really good at the end of the day. So, and the two long-term notes, the $1 million are a 10-year. So we've
Okay.
again been moving away from the 20-year to the extent that we can. So those are 10-year maturities.
Great. Terrific.
But I'm happy to take questions if people noticed anything or had something jump out.
I did not. I'll ask the question I always ask, which is there anything that's worrying you as you look at these numbers right now?
Not on its face.
Yeah.
But we're already starting to put together the budget for next year. And how those things are all going to fit together. The reality is that employee compensation piece, both in the current year and for next year, is still up in the air. So
Right.
it's something I don't have an answer for
Yeah.
today.
Right. Right.
And then how did hotel end up through what, August you'd have, not September?
Correct. What you're seeing here is just going to be through July. But generally pretty strong.
Bill, you had a question?
Yeah, just have a quick question. On the insurance rates, is that because of claims, policies going up or?
No, not substantially. It's really going to be two things. A rate adjustment. I think we just did the final year of a 3-year rate adjustment that the trust had notified us was coming, that went along with revaluing all the properties that were under coverage. And then on the workers' comp side, as wages increase, again, those coverages continue to increase. So
Right.
it's not really experience-based right now.
All right. Thank you, Amy and Mona. Who's doing the update on Thomas?
I'll start, and Tom and Mike are there
Terrific.
if I need help.
Great.
I believe everyone knows, but just to reiterate that the town did go back to the planning board in early September and secured approval for the rotation and for the sort of the mudroom, I guess we're calling it, on one of the structures. So that is complete, just as an exercise.
Great.
Both buildings, the Cape and the Ranch, are weather tight and secure, and final grading is completed. Both are connected to town sewer and town water. Plumbing and electrical contractors are on their way in terms of moving ahead. And so far the budget remains tight, but on track. We're sort of counting down to the last pennies as we get to the end, but we're there and
Good.
at every stage making it work. because there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
So trying to fit it all together. We should be completed by January 31st, which is the contractual date. And then I would anticipate that November into December, we'd be bringing before the council a proposal for exactly how occupancy is going to be
Great.
determined,
Yes.
how we're going to manage them, what the program is going to look like,
Right.
setting rents, that kind of thing. That all needs to be done so that we can get those occupied.
Could, when you bring that to us or before, could you, for someone like me who remembers the struggle, but doesn't necessarily remember the resolution perfectly?
It will come
Could you?
with the
Wonderful.
required framework that
That's
exists
never
in the
clear.
consent agreement,
Yeah,
because we always need to tie back to that.
yes,
Yes.
great, thank you.
Anything I missed there?
That's a very good thing to keep reviewing
Yeah.
because it falls off so fast.
Yeah.
People who have no idea what they're talking about talk a lot.
It's never stopped me before, but I'm trying to do better.
You weren't the problem.
No, actually, I just learned it goes back to the Connolly
Yeah,
gifts, so it's,
And for now, if anybody doesn't understand it, we still have Millie, who's really me the definitive resource on that.
yeah. Yeah. that's
so
good.
I'm just here to answer any particular questions. Amy hit it all on target. The two structures are being worked, just for full disclosure, by Connecticut Valley Homes. That's including this, all that's going on now is stairs and exterior trim. And as soon as our contract, we do the services, so the plumbing and heating and electrical are under contract to the town. As soon as they have their services in, the final wrap of their ducting and wiring, all the wiring is preset, but it has to be enclosed in a wall somewhere. That will be going on in the next 45 days or so. We should be tied up easily between Thanksgiving and Christmas, which gives them a whole month to come in and do final trim and painting and all that, which is in their side of the scope. We are working the little bump out that was added, the mudroom bump out, whatever, that was existing on the Thomas House. And we decided to keep because it didn't make any sense to remove something that was functional. We're working that with staff and they're providing the materials for it. And we did change one of the rear stairs backs to make the backyards a little bit more functional. So I think it gets a little bit better every day, and we're very excited how it's going. The front porch looks just as the planning commission hoped it would. So.
The front porch has made such a gigantic difference in that project. It's
Sure.
really funny. I was thinking how relatively small changes change the whole feel of the project.
Yeah, and a side note is that Connecticut Valley Homes was struggling. They've got 5 projects going on the island now. There's one more they're starting up off Mohegan Trail very soon. So they asked us for on-island resources that are all working that project now.
Oh,
So
great.
Not only, it's not all off-island
Oh,
contractors
that's good to
working.
hear. Yeah.
So it's all pretty good. And as long as we can get all the trucks off the lawn, we'll be seeding it any day now, and ourselves, that kind of thing. We're doing with internal resources as best we can. So I think I'm real positive.
Yeah. How's it look inside?
Oh, it's fine. The stairs just went in last week. So that allows the contractors doing the HVAC and the electrical to work in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Power, as Amy said, power, water, and sewer are already hooked up to the buildings. And right now we're using the old electrical service, but we'll be running a line back across High Street to one of the existing poles by the school without having to put up another pole, which we worked hard to not have to do.
Right.
So that's good. We're working with Tom Durden and the power company on the best way forward, both visually and efficiently. And yeah, we're pretty happy with it. In the spring, we'll probably be working on fixing some of the concrete driveways going in there and all that kind of stuff, but the house will be functional and livable
Yeah.
long before that.
Right. Are there any questions to come? I just have one question
Sure.
about your experience with modular construction out here, sort of zooming out a little bit.
Well, that's a question I get asked a lot.
Yeah.
no less by the housing commission
Sure.
and everyone else.
Yeah,
'cause
right.
We're
Yeah.
all looking at.
Yeah.
that. My house is panelized.
Yeah.
Which is a different kind of modular construction.
Mhm.
That is, I believe you get a better house unless you're using, the very best contractors because it's built indoors, basically. The box modular, which I call it, which is what most of Connecticut Valley Homes is, it has its positives and negatives. You're stuck to a certain type of architecture, but that's the vernacular that works on Block Island, so it's actually
Right.
apropos. It's efficient, it's cost efficient. It's about 3/4 the cost of building a stick-built house. And the timeline is much faster. Our view of it is a little skewed because we got them to deliver the boxes about 3 months before they wanted to.
Mhm.
But that got the boxes here and installed before the height of the season. And
Right.
that way our trades could be working through the summer, which they have been, and
Right.
that's how we're where we are now. So scheduling, it's a lot better to schedule. It helped that we already had one of the foundations. I would recommend it highly for a certain scale of project.
Right.
The other modular companies that I've worked with in the past and other lives, we built 30-story buildings with modules.
Mhm.
So anything's possible. But I'm certainly talking to Cindy and that group about extending the business. And I know that vendor is very interested in helping us out.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, that's all positive.
Yeah, presumably with every house they build out here, they get better at the logistical aspects of building out here, right?
They certainly do. And in fact, they have now an on-island foreman. That was one of their problems before was they were only out here Monday through Friday and,
Right.
9:30 to 3:00 and that caused its own problems. But now
Sure.
they have Chris Sylvia, who's an on-island contractor, also the HVAC guy, but he's filling in as foreman and that's helped us a lot. I have him 24/7 here. So
Yeah,
That's worked out as well.
it's interesting. Thank you for your work on this,
Sure.
Tom. I know it's been a long-term project.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Amy, you like to do your report?
I'm going to let you all read it, but I'll give you some
Yes.
highlights.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yes, that's what I did.
Starting with early voting, which began today. I was actually surprised by the number of people who came, but that's great. 9 to 3 clerk's office. So for anyone who wants to come by.
So can I interrupt you and just out of curiosity, how many people did come?
31.
That's a lot.
Most we've seen in a day.
Interesting. Thanks. Sorry for interrupting.
I voted.
We have a new hire joining us. Bridget Price will join the Department of Human Services as the Coordinator of Healthy Aging. We're very excited to have her coming on board. We had excellent candidates for that position and the senior advisory helped go through the interview process. So that was great as well.
Good.
On the police side, a transition sort of out of summer mode and working a lot of grant programs related to body worn cameras and JAG, as well as policies and procedures for accreditation. The department also has 2 seats for the January Academy. They're vetting candidates now and hope and expect to fill both of those seats, which is great. Public
So
Works.
is that how it works? You basically say, we're going to have 2, and then you go and find the people?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Highways and Public Works, again, transitioning to fall mode. One of the things they're doing is removing low-hanging branches along the public roadways. And so that's an opportunity to remind owners of private laneways to also cut back branches and make sure that there's enough clearance for emergency vehicles, ambulance, fire truck, make sure there's space there.
I was just going to say, apropos, I was actually going to ask that question because I've gotten a surprising number of concerns about laneways and people not maintaining them. And the kind of challenge that poses to fire and rescue. And I wonder if you know, yield to you and Mike, obviously, and the fire department leadership, but whether there are some policy things or some more active engagement with some of these places where, you know, a fire truck, I was talking to Chris Hobie the other day, he said there are some where literally a fire truck could not get through at this point.
We're going to start with the easy work, which is
Yeah.
reminding people
Yeah.
that it needs to be done, and this is a great time to do it. But we're also going to look at some other opportunities for a more formal
Great.
follow through.
I would really welcome that conversation because
And I'm pretty sure just because we just had fire safety at school and the police or the fire chief was there. Tristan would know this better too, but like, I think he said it has to be 14 feet by 14 feet,
That is my understanding as well.
right? Just in case anybody's out there wondering if their laneway complies.
Well, and I also thought that there was something on the record, depending on how many households were on a certain laneway, and then if there was, say, over 5, then the base of the road requires more for lane of passage, and then shoulder width. So if you've got, say, 5 houses, the road base should be wider than 8 feet.
gotcha.
I thought that was on the book, Mike. I don't know, again, on the spot, yeah, I'm private,
If I'm not mistaken, subdivision.
just subdivision.
Oh, gotcha.
Definitely. Thing that should be reviewed.
But it may be an area that we need to update in the ordinance or in our approach. You know, whatever. I'm an open book on it, but we got to figure it out. Mostly it's for people's own good. It's not, we're not trying to give people a hard time. It's like, sorry.
When you do, the utility district puts its utility pole feet more into your road than it used to be.
Say it again. I missed
What do
that.
you do if the utility district puts its pole feet into the road?
That's why God invented chainsaws. No, I don't know. I hadn't heard that.
Going to my road,
Oh, really?
where the big yellow band is.
Oh,
If you look to the left of it, that's the original pole.
oh, really?
I guess many times.
All right. Go ahead, Bill.
I like that approach, I think I like
Yeah.
that approach, because I think a lot of people are going to think about it when you say, hey, listen, to get the rescue to your house.
Yeah.
I think people, so I think, also, I think a lot of people who comply with this, listen to it.
Yeah.
I attached the whole summer wrap up that the harbor master put together because it was so
Yeah.
comprehensive and a great review of their season. I highly recommend that you take a look at it if you have a chance. So that's at the back of the town manager's report. Recreation, again, transitioning to late fall programming. That means by the end of October, moving some of those programs indoors, indoor pickleball, and then toddler time, elementary time, and open gym starting at the end of October. There's also a Dungeons and Dragons program for the 8 to 12-year-olds, which is getting a lot of feedback, I guess. The big news last week was the launch of the short-term rental registration program. So as of today, we had 75 applications. That is live on the town's website. There's a main page with instructions and the ordinance, and then a link as well to the application. So far, they've had really good feedback, and so it's going smoothly
Great.
so far, which is great. The turnaround time, I want to remind people that this is not an immediate submittal where you get your license. It does take a manual review. So as that application volume increases, it may take some time for the land use department to work through them. But so far, they said the pace is going fairly well.
Great.
We are going to have an ad in the Block Island Times this Friday to let those people who aren't on the bulletin board, may not follow town news, know that that's live as well.
Great.
Abcor Construction completed the lantern restoration and painting work at the North Light. I have not been out there myself yet, but the word is that it looks beautiful.
It
So
looks terrific.
that is exciting. For anyone who has it in color, we did include a photograph there. But probably best for all of us to just to go out
Mm.
and take a look. So that's exciting. And then 3 areas where we welcome community input. Just a reminder that there's a hazard mitigation and flood management survey. If you haven't taken that, we are updating the hazard mitigation and flood management plan. Also, the Safe Streets for All survey has been extended until the 18th. That is a statewide survey, but out of that information, a safety action plan will be developed through New Shoreham. So the more feedback, the better on that. Again, the link is in the report. It's also been out on the bulletin board. And then finally, a reminder that community mini grant applications are due October 31st for anyone who wants to submit one.
Had really good feedback on that.
Excited, we got our first official application today.
Oh,
We've had a lot
good.
of questions and
Great.
back and forth, so.
That's terrific.
Amy, I just want to say, I like the format of this report and like that you're closing out things that we may not hear about at a typical meeting. So
Thank you,
thank you.
appreciate that.
Agree. Any other questions for Amy? Any questions from the audience? No? Thank you, Amy. Item 11, Building Committee. Thank you, Amy, for working on this. Has everybody seen this memo? This is to create a building committee on the public safety building, public safety complex building. I was comfortable with it. I think it's representative. It's a little big, but it's a big project, you know? And it's going to require substantial amount of community buy-in. So can I have a motion to accept the interim town manager's recommendation for the formation of a building committee for the public safety complex? Is there a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Block Island Housing Board. How many do we have here? Two.
There's one position, but we have 2.
So I'm gonna, we have Josh Red and we have Ben Martin, both wonderful people. Having served with Josh Red on zoning for, I think, 3 years, and frankly, interacting with Josh Red informally and getting a tour of the housing that he did up at the medical center, which is really, if you have not been up to that provider housing, go up and take a look at it, because when I look at it, I'm not just thinking about provider housing. I'm thinking, to what extent is this a model to, you know, that could fill some of our other needs? I would support appointing Josh Red to this committee.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Remember, we have, I'm not going to give my usual whiny speech, motor vehicles for hire, sewer and water. Come to sewer and water next week. It's important stuff. Council has our annual meeting with their boards, and it's very important stuff. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Second, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. We're adjourned.